In the blood-red glow of the setting sun over Fairmont Crest, when everything seemed deceptively calm, a single ping from an abandoned phone became the first shot of an unfolding nightmare. The woman once hailed as the embodiment of loyalty, Anita, had no idea that one stray notification would tear her world apart. A message, a photo, a faint voice note, and suddenly, everything collapsed. In an instant, love turned into suspicion, trust became a weapon, and the man she had called her husband was revealed as a stranger hiding unthinkable secrets. From that moment on, Fairmont Crest was no longer a paradise of wealth and prestige, it became a battlefield of betrayal, where a wounded woman would not only seek revenge but would burn everything down to expose the truth. That afternoon, when the last rays of sunlight stretched across the glass windows of Fairmont Crest, everything seemed peaceful, yet underneath the calm exterior, something was quietly breaking. Anita, the woman who had always carried herself with composure, was clearing her desk with deliberate slowness when the moment came that shattered her entire world. Vernon's phone vibrated softly, the screen lighting up in the dim gold of dusk to reveal a notification that should never have appeared. A picture, a short audio clip, or perhaps a brief message, but whatever it was enough to stop her heart cold. For a few seconds, she stood frozen, her eyes locked on the screen, as every sound in the room seemed to fade, leaving only the wild rhythm of her pulse and the tremor spreading from her fingers to her throat. When she reached out and unlocked the phone, what she saw swept away everything she had believed in. She hadn't meant to search, but the instincts of a woman who had once loved deeply and had been hurt wouldn't let her stop. The messages, the recordings, the photographs stored away were not only proof of betrayal but the entrance to a far greater secret. Vernon's deceit went beyond infidelity, it pointed to something darker, perhaps a hidden deal, a political conspiracy, or a corrupt alliance that could upend everything people thought they knew about him. Each new message Anita read made her feel smaller, more foolish, and more insulted than the last. The man she had called her husband, the man she had shared her life and trust with, was living two parallel existences, one for the world, and one buried in the shadows. Her anger didn't explode, it burned silently, like a fire without oxygen. She could feel the betrayal eating through her mind, a poison spreading cell by cell. She had always believed she was Vernon's equal, that his successes were partly hers. But the truth was merciless. Vernon hadn't just lied to her, he had used her, turned her into the perfect disguise for a man who built an empire on deceit. The room seemed to shrink around her as Anita tried to steady her breath. The image of the ideal husband dissolved, replaced by that of a stranger with a cold smile and calculating eyes. She realized she had been trapped in the very life she had helped build. Every memory of happiness became a shard of glass slicing through her thoughts. She recalled every late night at the office, every urgent meeting, every message he'd claimed was just business. They had all been warnings she refused to see. She had believed in love, in loyalty, but now she knew that loyalty meant nothing once ambition and corruption took root. As the sun dipped below the horizon and Fairmont Crest fell into darkness, Anita felt herself changing. The pain was still there, but it was evolving into something else, a cold, deliberate resolve. She didn't want tears or answers anymore. She wanted retribution. She wanted Vernon to feel the same terror he had inflicted on her, the terror of exposure, of being unmasked, of watching one's carefully crafted life collapse. In the days that followed, Anita became a ghost haunting her own life. She attended meetings, smiled at parties, spoke with practiced calm, but inside, she was planning. She knew she couldn't let Vernon know that she knew. Her silence was her weapon, a knife pressed invisibly to his throat. Every time he spoke of trust, family, or morality, Anita bit her lip to keep from laughing. She saw the flicker of unease in his eyes, the faint tremor in his voice. He was already afraid, he just didn't know of what yet. And yet, beneath the fury, something else lingered, a desperate, pathetic need to understand. Had Vernon ever truly loved her? Or had she merely been another calculation in his quest for power? That question tormented her more than the betrayal itself. Each night, she stood before the mirror, unable to recognize the reflection staring back. The warmth and softness were gone, replaced by cold precision and a hatred so deep it frightened even her. When she began combing through their home office, Anita uncovered a maze of documents, shell companies, falsified accounts, investments tied to names she'd never heard of. Each file revealed another layer of deceit, another truth about the empire Vernon had built behind her back. He hadn't just betrayed her, he had betrayed the very principles they had once claimed to share. While she believed in building a legacy of integrity, he had been erecting a monument of corruption, using her love as the cornerstone. The disgust was overwhelming. Anita knew there was no turning back. She had crossed the point where grief becomes vengeance. She no longer feared losing everything, because she already had. The only thing left was the truth, and she would use it like a torch to burn his world down. That night, when Vernon returned home, she was waiting, silent, motionless, her face hidden in shadow. He didn't notice the difference. He didn't know that every secret he had buried was now in her hands. In Anita's mind, a plan was forming. She wouldn't confront him directly, she would make the people who once admired him see what he truly was. She would let his empire crumble from within, piece by piece, until he begged for the mercy he had denied her. From that night forward, Anita began her quiet war. She leaked fragments of information to the press, to business partners, to people who knew how to read between the lines. Reports began to circulate. Inquiries were opened. A few of Vernon's closest allies were suddenly questioned. Numbers stopped adding up. Trust began to erode. Vernon grew anxious, and each time he did, Anita felt a quiet satisfaction. But revenge is a poison that seeps into the soul. Each move drew her deeper into the darkness she once despised. The fury that had driven her began to change her, twisting her into a reflection of the very man she sought to destroy, methodical, manipulative, merciless. Some nights, she wondered if she had become the monster she hated. But she couldn't stop. The fire inside her had gone too far to extinguish. Fairmont Crest, once a symbol of prestige and peace, became a stage for ruin. Among glittering chandeliers and expensive wine, two people sat across from each other, smiling politely, each concealing a blade behind their back. Vernon didn't yet realize that time was running out. Anita didn't yet realize that in trying to destroy him, she was also destroying herself. And when the day of reckoning finally arrived, neither of them could escape the truth. The price of betrayal wasn't measured in money or status, it was measured in the wreckage of their souls. Anita stood before the house that had once been her sanctuary, now nothing but a monument to deceit. She understood then that sometimes, to make someone pay, you must first be willing to burn with them. In the stillness of night descending over Fairmont Crest, where golden lights from lavish mansions shimmered across the quiet lake, Anita stood by the window, staring down at the courtyard that had once been the symbol of her happiness. Everything now was just a facade. Beneath that calm surface lay the storm she had unleashed, a storm that had grown beyond her control. She no longer knew if she was taking revenge or if revenge itself was consuming her. Somewhere else in the estate, Vernon sat before his computer, sweat glistening on his brow, his eyes wide with panic as he watched files leak and powerful allies turn their backs one by one. He still didn't know that the source of it all was the woman he had sworn to protect, the woman who now stood coldly, watching his downfall like an emotionless spectator. But deep inside Anita, a new fear was stirring, the fear that once Vernon lost everything, he wouldn't crumble, he would strike back. And if he did, she knew Fairmont Crest would not claim just one casualty. The night wind rose, tugging at the sheer curtain, carrying with it the faint scent of smoke from the distant woods. Anita closed her eyes, feeling her heartbeat quicken and the echo of something inevitable drawing near. She knew that a secret as dangerous as Vernon's could never belong to only two people. Someone else had seen it. Someone else was waiting to make their move. And perhaps, she herself was being watched. When the phone rang suddenly through the silence, the screen lit up with the words "unknown caller." Anita froze. She hesitated for a second, then answered. No one spoke. Only breathing, slow, deliberate, as if the caller already knew everything she had done. Anita's eyes darkened, half fear, half defiance. In that moment, she understood the truth, this story was far from over. The game she thought she was controlling had just turned against her. And as the night swallowed Fairmont Crest, only the wind whispered through the windows, a chilling reminder that the real truth had yet to be revealed. It was only just beginning.